As long as you are on this side of the dirt and breathing, you can always start something new. Welcome to the Women Rockin' Midlife podcast, soulful wellness to elevate your second act. You deserve to deeply love every moment of your life, living your best life with pure joy, optimal health and abundance, with the energy, time, and inner peace to savor experiences with your loved ones and with yourself. Hi, I'm Jen Kunkel. Join me on this soulful journey to complete wellness in midlife and beyond. Do you ever feel like life has passed you by? Like you had all of these things on your someday list and someday never came, and now you feel like it's too late, like you're too old, or it's too late to try something new, to do some of these things. That's what we're talking about today, and we're talking about why it's not true. You're never too old. It's never too late. You can always, as long as you are on this side of the dirt and breathing, you can always start something new. You can always try one of these things that are on your someday list, and you can make someday today or even tomorrow. This past week, I sent out a couple of emails on this topic to my VIP Insider email list, so I thought I would talk about it on the podcast. There were scenarios where at midlife, even in our 40s, we start to feel like we're too old to do this, or too old to do that, or too old for that relationship. That's BS, okay? I'm going to tell you about a movie I watched and about a friend in college to change your mind. But first, let's get something actionable going. I want you to take out a piece of paper right now. And if you're driving, just start making a mental list. And as soon as you have the opportunity, take out a piece of paper. All right, I'm being old school here. Or you can pull out your notes app on your phone, whatever. Don't do that while you're driving. I am very anti using your phone while you're driving, especially if it's texting or taking notes. Be safe, please. If you're driving, mental notes, okay? If you're not driving, get your paper, get your notepad, get your note app out of your phone. And I want you to list out things that you have said you were going to do someday. Like go back in time too, to your 20s, your 30s, even your teens, even when you were a kid. Make this exhaustive brain dump list of things you said you were going to do someday. Things that you want to do someday. And in the future, you can go back and prioritize this, but more about that later. All right, let's just get that list down. What are your excuses or your reasons for not doing these things? I mean, maybe some of them have physical demands and you really feel like your body's just not cut out for it now. But guess what? We can change that too. It might take a little bit more time. Maybe you're not going to go out and do it today or tomorrow. Maybe you do need to get in shape, but that's part of the process of doing the thing on your list, right? Let's say you have run a marathon on your list and you haven't done that yet. Yeah, you're going to have to train, but guess what? You would have had to train even if you did a marathon in your 20s. Nobody's going out and just running a marathon. What do you think you're too old for? What do you think it's too late for? Write this on your list. And why do you think that it's too late? Why do you think that you can't just decide today or tomorrow or next week, hey, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to go on that river rafting trip. I am going to hike that mountain. Yeah, some things might require training, but I bet you they required training no matter what age you were. I had on my bucket list to hang glide, actually. And then I saw paragliding and I thought, ooh, I'm changing it to that. I haven't done that yet. That's on my list. Also, the first time I saw people flying in those wingsuits, this was back when only a handful of people even did it. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do that. But it also looks super dangerous, so I thought that maybe I'd wait until I was much, much older to do it. At the time, the only people who did it were the people who could hike up to the spots, but I think they take people up in helicopters now to do that. So see, anything's possible. Like, even when I saw it, maybe I was in my 30s, I don't remember, but I thought, oh gosh, I'd have to hike up that to do that, but that's not the case anymore. So some of those things on your list, maybe things have changed and you can do it. It's just a mentality, believing that we're too old for something. It's conditioning that society puts on us. Okay, so I mentioned one of my college mates. When I went to college, I actually felt like I was kind of old. I was already taking classes part-time when I was working full-time in my early 20s. So when I started to go to college full-time, I was 24. And I felt like I was old because most of the people that I was going to school with would be graduated. The ones that came in right out of high school, they would be already graduated 2 years younger than I was at the time. I did have one college friend who was a retired teacher, and I want to say she was in her 50s, maybe 54 or 55, something like that. I think she was 54. Regardless, she was, significantly older than I was at the time, 30 years older than me. I thought it was so cool that she was coming in and she wanted to retire from teaching, but she didn't want to stop working. And she was starting this whole completely different career. And she did. She graduated. She got a great job. She was very diligent at everything she did. She was great at it. That tells me, it's never too late. You're never too old. And when I start thinking about, oh man, the opportunity to do this or that has passed me by, I think of my friend from college and I say, no, it hasn't. So I thought I would share that with you to put things in perspective. I bet you know somebody who doesn't let their age stop them from doing things too. Maybe you are that someone. That's awesome if you are. Now, if something that's on your list requires physical demands, then you need to work out a training plan, maybe work with professionals that can help you do that in a safe way. Yeah, we might have other considerations to keep in mind, but that doesn't mean that we can't do it, right? There's so much conditioning on age and stigma, especially women as we age. I mean, do people really think too much about men doing active things as they age? In fact, there's kind of a double standard when it comes to men and women and their age in general. Like at the beginning, I mentioned this movie that I had emailed my list about. So there's this movie out on streaming, The Idea of You, with Anne Hathaway. And I don't know, some young kid, I don't know his name. Anyway, in the movie, I guess it's based on a book I found out. In the movie, she's like 44 and she ends up dating this 24-year-old pop star that her daughter is a fan of the band. Well, there's just so much drama around it. There might be a little bit of spoiler here, so if you haven't seen it and you want to, maybe skip over the next minute or two here. I won't spend too much time on it, but yeah, spoiler alert. Okay, so anyway, they get into this relationship and apparently it's not just a fling. They're like in love. The backlash from the public is so much that the woman decides she has to break it off because it's affecting her daughter too much. And then the whole message to me was that she has to forego love because of the stigma of older women being with younger men. Well, the ironic thing in the movie was that her husband had divorced her for a younger woman. So there's hypocrisy demonstrated right there. I feel like that was a bit of the message in the movie. And it was done in a really tactful way because normally I'm like, who cares? Just do what you want. And if people get upset about it, that's their problem. Now, kudos to her because she stopped it because her daughter was getting, harassed and stuff over it. Of course, you got to take care of your kids. That's important. But generally speaking, I'm not big on getting all worked up about how the conditioning in the world isn't fair. I do agree with acknowledging it, pointing it out, and then making things work for yourself anyway. Now, I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but you can watch it and see where it goes. Yeah. So we don't have to let that kind of thing be an excuse for not living the way that we want to. Sometimes we're not going to, first of all, you're never going to please anybody. So if somebody is like, what are you doing running a marathon? You're a 72-year-old woman. Well, I know of 72-year-old men who run marathons and nobody thinks anything of it. That's kind of impressive, but I'm just saying it sort of does feel like the conditioning is a little bit different for women and for men, and it depends on the subject, obviously. Everybody's going to have their own way to deal with it. It's going to be personal, but I think that getting in an uproar and letting it stop you, that's a mistake. I don't think that's empowering at all. I think that's allowing yourself to be a victim. So don't be a victim. Make conscious decisions. If you see hypocrisy and it's affecting your decision, really take a look at that. Call it out for sure. And do what makes you happy anyway. In a balanced way, like in the movie. Like, it didn't make her happy to be in a relationship that was ultimately making her daughter miserable. She had to, she made that choice, and I think it was a good choice. Anyway, let's get back to your list, okay? Let's get back to your list. Take a look at your brain dump, all the things that you want to do. Put them in priority order. Maybe pick out a few of the more enticing ones, the ones you really want to do, and put them on a note card. Also, for each one, write down the reasons why you're not doing this, like why you think it's not possible. And then I want you to flip it, right? Convince yourself that it is possible. Give yourself, resolve that problem. Like, whatever your objections are for being able to do it, write those out for each one. Pick 3 or 5 of them, and then write out your objections. Like, what are reasons why I can't do this? And then I want you to resolve those. Those are just questions or challenges that you need to overcome. And then find solutions for each one of those. And let me know. I'd actually love to see your lists, okay? So send me a message and let me know what's on your list and why you think you can't do it and how you talked yourself into it. And I'd really love to see if you actually do it. All right, thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you next time.